among all the lovely students.
The chapter where the girl forms a bond with the Threnodian must be delayed.
Would you come to the library? Stands a member.
As your friend Denia
I'll
said.
give it a try.
Holy, we need to talk about Sigrika now, because Kuro is setting up something massive for 3.2 and is doing a great job at fooling and distracting us, like a magician performing a trick right under our nose, without anyone noticing anything weird until the very end. So, in 3.1 Part 2, we discovered that Nivora is in reality Grand Architect. Wow, no one saw that coming, huh? Okay, everyone saw that coming, and I think that was actually very intentional. Anyway, one of the clues which back then suggested that the Nivora we met very unsuspiciously alone in the Frostlands was Grand Architect was that we previously saw the Nivora in the classroom invite Sigrika to the library. Between that scene and us going to the Frostlands didn't really pass that much time. So one theory circulating back then was that the real Nivora was in the library with Sigrika and we were in the company of the fake Nivora in the Frostlands. Alternatively, if the Nivora in the classroom was already Grand Architect, maybe they were luring Sigrika to kidnap her, which would match the synopsis of the 3.1 Part 2 quest talking about a Royan girl being kidnapped. Now, Nivora was indeed Grand Architect. That was correct, and there were other clues pointing to that. But those two theories I just mentioned earlier were both wrong. The kidnapped Royan girl in Part 2 is actually quote-unquote Nivora, not Sigrika. And if there were two Nivoras, one in the library while the other one was injured in the Frostlands, by now Startorch, Luuk or someone else would have noticed. So we didn't see two different Nivoras. I'd say that in all these scenes, it was always Grand Architect from the start. But who cares, right? In the end, Nivora was Grand Architect, okay? So why is this unimportant anymore? Well, it is important, because what did Grand Architect want to discuss with Sigrika right in that moment before hurrying to the Frostlands to set up the Glacier Probe incident for us? And why did Kuro want to show us that? Remember, the stakes in the story right now are incredibly high, and Sigrika as the next character banner is going to be central in the story. Still, we know so little about her, and we just saw her twice in seemingly negligible scenes. Or maybe they are not negligible. Maybe Kuro is smacking crucial clues on our face, but we don't see them because we are distracted or misguided. And they are doing this on purpose to spectacularly overturn our expectations when the time comes. I'm telling you this, Sigrika is going to be big. Like really big. And yeah, you guessed it, I think that she is the Fractsidus member Grand Architect mentioned, and if she's not, she's still 100% implicated and being used by them. But honestly, at this point, like after investigating more her, this can't be all there is to her. Like I'm not sure what will happen in 3.2, but it's going to be a roller coaster, okay? If you are already a fan of Sigrika, oh god, like you won the jackpot, okay? This girl is going to be massive. Anyway, back to Earth, let's analyze this scene and try to understand why I think she's already implicated with the events of the main story.
Konnichiwa, Otonari-san. 同じラベル学部のエイメスよ。
Did you see that? Let's watch again. Some object fell from Sigrika's bench. It seems a can, but what it is, it's not important. What's interesting here is the timing and the framing. With a shot change, we see the object falling, but soon Aemeath enters the frame and the focus is changed to her. When we watched this scene the first time, we were all excited to finally meet Aemeath, and of course we were all thrilled and extremely focused on her, making her the perfect distraction to insert this little detail in plain sight. It's really subtle, but it's there and it has to have a reason. So, what's the reason? Is it even important? I mean, an object falling from a bench during class, pretty common and random thing, right? Like, Sigrika probably picked it up and kept following the lesson, right? Well, actually she doesn't. The object at the end of the scene is still there on the ground. Why is a well-mannered and respectable student ignoring the object they accidentally dropped on the ground during class? Well, the answer is simple. She was distracted. Her attention focused on something else. And what exactly? Surely not class, because look at her body. It's turned on the left, while the object laying on the ground and the focus of the lesson are both on the right. And yeah, we already know she heard Rover talking by themselves, but it's not Rover who caught her attention initially. Why did she drop the object in the first place? Well, maybe something caught her off guard and she got surprised, but by then Rover hasn't said a word yet. She was not taken by surprise by Rover. She was surprised of Aemeath getting closer. But is this even possible? Maybe for a gifted soulsborne like her it is. Rover started seeing Aemeath because they had the Exostrider's reactor core with them, which Aemeath's own existence is tethered to. But maybe Sigrika could still perceive Aemeath thanks to her resonance being close to that of the Solinskins and the Exostrider. The Solinskins themselves can see Aemeath, so it's not unthinkable. We even know that Sigrika resonates with the Royan runes, which are tied to the Exostrider and maybe the Threnodian, but we will talk about this later. Beware, she likely didn't see Aemeath like we did, but rather she felt some sort of presence tied to the Exostrider, which she maybe couldn't even hear or identify as a person. Hence why with Nivora she says Rover was talking by themselves. And personally she looks quite carefree and cheerful for someone who witnessed a ghost, so whatever she perceived was probably subtle but strong enough to distract her and holding her attention. I think it's time to address something. I don't think Sigrika at this moment in time, in this classroom, is formally a Fractsidus member, nor she's aware of Nivora's true identity. When the teacher calls Nivora, who appears like a shy and innocent girl, Sigrika is smiling at her and even encouraging her. If Sigrika was faking it in agreement with Nivora, then she would be an incredible actress, but I don't think that's the case. Remember, the Solinskins like her, which kind of proves she is a kind, righteous person. If Nivora dropped the mask with her, it happened at some point after that class, and the meetup at the library, I'd say it's our best candidate for that. Notice how in part 2, we don't really see how Sigrika interacts with Nivora. Here the scene cuts right when Sigrika approaches, so we can't even read her expression to see if something changed between them recently, and that might be on purpose. Since the meetup in the library served no purpose whatsoever for the story of 3.1, and our previous speculations on it were also wrong, there's no way Kuro showed us that just for giggles. It was an important event, in ways we still don't fully understand but surely relevant for Sigrika and events of the next patch. Now, let's say before the library event, Sigrika wasn't yet what Grand Architect would refer to as a member of the Fractsidus. It would be weird that she becomes one overnight, right? I mean, Nivora didn't even have much time to talk with her. Also, we already established that Sigrika very likely isn't evil. So if, and yeah, if, because of course I'm not sure, but if Sigrika is indeed the infamous Fractsidus member, or at the very least a tool being used by them more or less consciously, I can only see two ways Grand Architect could convince her to do something for them. One is, of course, coercion. Maybe the real Nivora is a hostage. But honestly, that's not in the Grand Architect style, and personally it would also be very boring. The other way, and what I deem more likely, is manipulation. Something we know Grand Architect is very good at instead. And it's not like Grand Architect achieved this with just one meetup. Even before the library event, Nivora could have groomed Sigrika for a while, influencing her. We still don't know exactly for how long Grand Architect has assumed Nivora's identity, but we have reason to think it has been for quite some time. At the Roya Icebreak port in the Frostlands, you can find this NPC checking the inventory, finding out that Glacier Probers are flagged as insufficient. And she's not surprised to find out that the flag comes from, you guessed it, Nivora. So apparently Nivora had enough authority to both access these tools and request restockings. And if you don't know what a Glacier Prober is or does, let me remind you real quick. This tells us that not only Nivora probably set up the collapse of the ice cape, very shocking, right? But also that she has been investigating the Frostlands with these Glacier Probers for a while, maybe looking for the space station or maybe something more sinister. Whatever it is, she has clearly been active in the Frostlands for some time, doing probably non-authorized excavations. And guess where Sigrika was during 3.0?
Sigrika is currently out researching in the Frostlands.
Look at that. How many chances they were together and Nivora had plenty of time to influence Sigrika and setting her up to join the Fractsidus in 3.1. I'd say that's not that unlikely. I have a question for you. Given how sly Kuro was in putting clues in plain sight while still managing to hide them so well, how many chances this whole 2 minutes of Sigrika therapy is just some nothing burger about worries for exams and Luuk being the cool, reliable doctor? I mean, he is really cool, and this reaction of Sigrika was really funny and adorable. Which is why it's such an effective deception. We have the comic relief moment, like in part 1, the new shiny feature resonator showing off, the next banner resonator being cute and adorable, oh how sweet, this is a gacha game so surely this is promotion and doesn't have any particular relevance for the lore, right? Right? Yeah, she is insecure and maybe a little stressed. We will probably know more next patch. Now let's focus again on Nivora, because she is the sus one. I saw her cutting the communication, and she was doing the evil pose. That was very evil. And she was looking at Luuk's pen.
My precious.
Putting aside Grand Architect's obsession and talent in cosplaying as a little girl,
I'm a happy girl.
I believe Kuro made Nivora so obviously suspicious as a bait, because not only it focused our attention on her dismissing other details, but it now set the expectation that whoever this other Fractsidus member is, we will get some equally blatant clue, when in reality this is all a setup for deception, and the clues are already here. Let's take a closer look at this conversation between Sigrika and Luuk. Remember, this is the only other time we see her, and it's days after the classroom scene and the meetup with Nivora in the library. She clearly looks concerned, something troubling her. Luuk says she should have more faith in herself, and it seems like they actually talk often, so probably this is nothing out of the ordinary. We know Sigrika is a very promising and highly acclaimed soulsborne, and Luuk himself in his thoughts tells us that she receives a lot of pressure for one of her young age. So nothing of this conversation sounds suspicious, even for those who dug up her background and the lore, but I wouldn't be making this video if it was just that, right? First of all, I fear the English localization, yet again, deprived us global players of a quite compelling nuance. In the English version, Luuk says, good or bad, true or false, these things have a way of coming to light, which is a process that happens passively. Like, these things will eventually come out by themselves. But both the Japanese and the original Chinese text instead talk about these things being not easy to disguise, to fake, which is an active process, it's an action performed by someone. Sigrika seems concerned and distressed. But for what? She should have more faith in herself. But to do what? In what does she fear to fail or to be wrong? People are perceptive, but to unravel what? Well, here's the answer. Sigrika isn't sure to discern good from evil, and she fears she's getting deceived by a bad actor. This is what troubles her so much. This is why she bolts up in bed every night. Don't think that's the face she makes because worried for an exam. That's a misdirection. A comic relief scene, which hides a darker truth which can't be revealed now. And certainly not to Luuk, despite she would really like to open up completely with him. This means that the Fractsidus, whether she is aware or not of their identity, whether she formerly joined them or not, are taking advantage of her. She's getting manipulated and used as a pivotal piece in their mysterious schemes. But what do they need her for?
That is a tale to be savored later.
We will go back to this later. When Sigrika leaves Luuk, she unexpectedly meets Rover. Look at that reaction. Just a few days earlier, Rover was basically a stranger to her, and maybe also a weirdo. But that astonishment and the need to keep looking at Rover is telling that Rover has been in her thoughts a lot recently. And as soon as the amazement fades away, her eyes betray a feeling of sadness, sorrow, but why? This hints that since the last time, she got more information on Rover, and whatever she discovered made her feel like this. It's not unlikely that whatever plans she's involved in too, they involve Rover too, or maybe, to explain this sad reaction, she sensed Rover's grief and there's also a chance she's connecting the dots with the presence she perceived in class, which she might have investigated during these days. I'm speculating a bit, but anyway, Sigrika is clearly implicated with the Fractsidus. But now let's reflect for a moment on whether she is the infamous Fractsidus member or she's just a victim, unaware of what's going on. For starters, whatever Grand Architect is planning is big, and Sigrika will have a crucial role in it. Making Sigrika collaborate in whatever this is without revealing themselves should be pretty hard and risky. Sigrika is already doubting someone. So, given how good Grand Architect is at talking, I mean, we saw that with Frolova, I would imagine he could reveal his affiliation to the Fractsidus and still persuade Sigrika to join their plan, convincing her this is for the better, to save Lahai-roi or maybe even the world. Notice that in part 2, we don't see how Sigrika interacts with Nivora. The scene cuts too early, and this might be intentional because it would reveal something in the relationship changed. We know from Luuk that the Fractsidus is a loose organization, so Sigrika joining on a fly after being persuaded isn't too far-fetched. Also, Sigrika seems to be pivotal in their plans. Involving such a devoted and respected Roya with seemingly a pure heart should be very risky, and they wouldn't do that if she didn't play a really big part. One Grand Architect would be eagerly looking forward to. That's pretty much what Nivora confessed. One of Sigrika's themes is feeling pressure from the Roya because of her gift, something Luuk is aware of too. But what if the main expectation weighing on her comes from the Fractsidus instead? Okay, these are all reasonable considerations, but I'm not gonna lie, these are all pretty weak allegations. But that's because I kept the best one for last. We know Luuk kept an eye on Nivora throughout her whole stay in the infirmary, where she was bedridden for days since the incident in the space station. We also don't know how Warren managed to escape, and I wouldn't be surprised if one of the first things we discover next patch is that he was helped. Whoever this person is should have also forwarded instruction to kidnap Nivora. Finally, the timing was very convenient because it was the very same day just after Luuk and Rover talked again, increasing the chances Rover would get involved as in Grand Architect's real intentions. This means that the plan was started by Nivora while still stuck in the infirmary, after confirming Rover was closer to Luuk. But if Nivora was surveilled, how could she deliver a message outside the infirmary? Well, she could deliver a message to someone visiting her, and look who's there just at the right time. I'm telling you, one way or another, this will be a reason why Luuk and Rover will have suspects on Sigrika, unless she has a better alibi than being the cutest potato in Solaris. So yeah, Sigrika could be the mole, but there are also good reasons for why she might be just a tool, and the Fractsidus member is instead someone else, someone who will continue to manipulate Sigrika now that Nivora can't anymore. I mean, I guess she can, she can't just come back and be, hey, hi Sigrika, but it was me, the Grand Architect. So if Sigrika isn't the mole, we already have a suspect actually, Denia. Going back to the conversation with Luuk, I didn't address this part.
And as your friend Denia said, sometimes a little distraction is good for your health.
This element can't be random. I'm not sure what they are talking about exactly, but it's clear that Denia is influencing Sigrika. Maybe she's just a good friend who wants her to relax, or maybe she's the member of the Fractsidus. Wait, what if she's an overseer actually? Poor girl, imagine you wake up one day and you discover that your best friend is Grand Architect, and so you go cry to your next best friend and you discover that's actually a member of the Fractsidus too, and maybe even an overseer. I would fucking lose it. No shot she has that face. I would have that face too. Anyway, remember what I said earlier about Nivora giving orders from the infirmary to Sigrika or through Sigrika? In the latter case, Sigrika doesn't necessarily have to be conscious of carrying the order. If the mole is indeed close to her, then Nivora could easily pass an order to this person through Sigrika in code. If that's the case, suspects falling on Sigrika next patch could be used as a misdirection. Personally, I also don't really see Sigrika infiltrating Warren's prison and do stuff like that, and I've been saying that Sigrika is a crucial piece in Grand Architect's plans, but Nivora in this scene comments on their mole as someone expendable, which contradicts that thesis. Maybe that's a misdirection too? She's lying? I'm not sure. Another clue is the chromatic foam Sonata set having a suspiciously familiar logo. We already know from official sources that Sigrika is Aero, and she's likely using the Aero set, so it's reasonable to expect that the mole is a future playable character using the Fusion Burst set instead. It could be Denia, but nothing excludes that there are more Fractsidus members involved. Nivora could have omitted this information. I mean, look at that face. So even if you have some more or less official information about a future Fusion character coming in 3.2 or 3.3, it doesn't necessarily clear Sigrika for good. Lastly, I should tell you that Kuro actually showed us some sassy socks, and this ain't Sigrika, so it should be someone else. But given the cheeky approach Kuro has been implementing, I wouldn't be surprised if this ends up being a misdirection, so don't trust too much what is hinted so plainly. We have analyzed the clues in-game, so what about the clues outside the game? But before that, let's talk about Sigrika's references in Norse mythology. Sigrika is likely inspired from Sigrdrífa, Victory Urger, epithet of the Valkyrie Brynhild found in the Eddic poem Sigrdrífumal. Long story short, she defied Odin's will by dooming his favorite in a battle between two kings, so Odin puts her in a magic sleep in a fortress of shields on top of a mountain lit by great fires. Sometime later, a bold hero named Sigurd rides through the flames, enters the fortress and reawakens her, so she returns the favor by teaching him the runes. What are these runes? Basically letters, but in Norse mythology they are powerful magic symbols able to shift fates and bend the forces of the universe. This is really interesting because Sigrika is actually a resonator of the runes, and while everyone was distracted by her adorable pouts, almost 3 months ago by the way, she was literally telling us she would teach us the meaning of the runes, and even that the runes will be our guide. Now, this is actually bigger than you might think. In the song Dawnbreaker, which I'm sure is enigmatically spoiling the whole Lahai-roi plot by the way, there's this strong metaphor of taking the fire from the stars to acquire the means to overcome the darkness. This is clearly a reference to Prometheus, the titan who stole fire from the gods and gave it to humanity, heavily present also in Star Torch's symbolism, and is reaffirmed in Aemeath's Midnight podcast, where Rover is likened to a star who would go take the light from other stars to come back and burn brighter later. Many notice the star Aemeath described is associated in real life with Venus. And no guys, like I know some of you really want to force this connection, but it's not a reference to the goddess of love. It's a clear reference to literally how Venus behaves. It's bright in the evening, then it disappears during the night when it's darker, and then reappears as bright as ever when the morning is approaching. That's why it's called the evening star or the morning star. It heralds the coming of the daybreak, or you could even say it's a Dawnbreaker. Goddess of love, I fucking can't. If you wonder why the star in the Midnight podcast disappears for 7 days, I have some theories, but maybe we'll cover them in another video. If it wasn't clear, the daybreak is a metaphor of our victory, light scorching through the darkness and the start of better, more prosperous times. In this case, a positive resolution of the Lahai-roi plot, but the dawn is a theme we have seen over and over throughout the story already. Yeah, this is cool and all, but more concretely, what can this light we are taking from distant stars substantially be? Well, Prometheus' fire is also a metaphor of knowledge, so cosmos bending knowledge from the runes sounds quite fitting, don't you think? If you take a look at the most recent Sigrika drip marketing, and let me say a stunning one, behind this beautiful pastoral composition we all adored, you might now be able to see some references. We see Sigrika holding a special star while the night gives way to the morning. Usually stars guide people, but in this instance the star is roving, and the daybreak is the destination reached thanks to Sigrika. Notice also that star isn't alone, but is accompanied by other shooting stars, all going together towards the daybreak. You can see how everything is connecting, right? There is so much more I'd like to talk about. The connections with Honami, where Honami is located, who Namipon could be and how they will play, or I should say played, a role in our rebirth after we will die. Because yeah, Rover is going to die, like I'm pretty sure about it. But sadly the video is already getting quite long, so before concluding, I need to address why at the start of the video I said Sigrika being implicated with the Fractsidus might not be the biggest plot twist next patch.
It seems my hastily chosen pawn has proven to be utterly ineffectual. It appears I'll have to add the final flourish to push the story to its climax. Such a pity, though. With this piece expended, the chapter where the girl forms her bond with a Threnodian must be delayed. But that is a tale to be savored later.
For the longest time, I've been pretty sure the girl would have been Aemeath. Among the dozens of reasons why, the fact she was the only one who could survive the Threnodian itself was the biggest selling point by far. But I couldn't figure out what made Ingvar valuable, but at the same time replaceable for this plan. Him having access to the Solicilum can't be. In the original plans, the Solicilum would have been irremediably corrupted and become useless anyway. Maybe his resonance had something special, but he's still alive, so it can't be that. I was missing something. With 3.1 Part 2, we know a piece of Aleph is stuck on this side of the Strider Gate, which could be exploited in ways we couldn't even imagine before without opening the gate first. Also, the more I was working on this video, the more elements I discovered on Sigrika, which make her quite a reasonable candidate. For starters, we have established that she is implicated with the Fractsidus, one way or another, and for some reason, they are so interested in her that the same Grand Architect is actively exposing themselves as we've never seen before. As a Soulsborn, her resonance has affinity with Exostrider, and we saw how she probably could even perceive Aemeath back at the start of 3.1. This makes her quite special. But a crucial element is likely her resonance with the runes. We actually don't know much about the runes in-game. We have seen them with Aemeath, but the story didn't even tell us. We know it from the summary, which is very lame, but I digress. The only other information I could find is this NPC talking about how runes would appear from void storms, which are manifestations of the Threnodian's power and domain, so runes could be tied not just to the Exostrider, but potentially even to Aleph 1. And whatever they are, because right now I'm very confused myself, we have already addressed how powerful they are in Norse mythology. Lastly, if Sigrika is the girl the Fractsidus wants to merge with the Threnodian, and she's indeed being manipulated by the Fractsidus for this very reason, this sentence from Grand Architect would make much more sense. Ingvar, as a successor of one of the Elodic Six, would have certainly been able to exercise a being influence on Sigrika, a devoted Soulsborn. But now that he's been exposed, he certainly can't anymore, and Grand Architect needs more time to work on Sigrika themselves. Sigrdrífa taught Sigurd the runes, but before that, Sigurd had to reach her and save her. Similarly, we might have to save Sigrika next patch. Be also ready for potential parallelism with Aemeath and Rover finding strength in not wanting to fail like they did in the past. So, if you already had reasons to hate Grand Architect, well, be ready for Mia 2.0, guys, that's all I'm saying. Maybe I'm wrong, I'm aware there are leaks of the next boss fight and I'm avoiding them like the plague, so please in the comments don't discuss story leaks, not just for me, but for anyone who wants to join a healthy discussion using the information we are supposed to have. Well, this has been a long one, and yeah, that's pretty much it. I might make an update video after Friday's livestream, but don't count on that because I'm pretty busy in real life. For any additional information and potential corrections, please check out the pinned comment. And I can't conclude this video without thanking the community and all those people who one way or another helped me by giving me feedback, suggesting corrections, providing their interpretations, their point of view, and gathering information I missed or I couldn't even find. Even just having someone reading my ramblings really gave me a lot of confidence and helped me focus and refine my theories day after day. This video is the result of my efforts and my first solo video too, but I feel like it's not just mine. A little piece is of all the people who even were just there listening to what I had to say. So to all of you, thank you.